Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from in the world today. And I know that we have people joining us from many different countries. Welcome to our second Inspiring Journeys as part of our alumni series. Today, we're very pleased to be able to welcome you all, whether you're a student or one of our alums. We've got an exciting session and an exciting journey to discuss, and hopefully we're going to have some takeaways that all of us can embed into our working and professional lives. My name is Rob Angel. I'm a Director of Internationalization for Southampton Business School, and I'm also an Associate Professor within the school. I'm joined today by my colleague Pathik Patak, who is the Director of the Social Impact Lab at the University of Southampton and also an Associate Professor. We are delighted, between the both of us, to be able to introduce Kaushal Shah, who's our man of the moment. Kaushal is one of our alum. He studied in the Department of Strategy and Innovation and Entrepreneurship just a few years ago. And he's gone on to be an extremely successful entrepreneur. He is the founder and the CEO of envoPAP, and he has recently been awarded or recognized in the Europe's 30 under 30, it's labeled by Forbes. So I don't want to give away too many bits of information about Kaushal, because this is the name of the game, is learning about Kaushal today. But this is our opportunity to really hear about his background, hear about his time at university, and hear about what has happened since he left the university and founded envoPAP. Okay, welcome, Kaushal. Hi, Kaushal.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you so very much for the kind introduction. How are you, Pathik?
Morning. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah, over to you, Pat.
Great. So, Kaushal, let's start at the beginning, shall we? And apologies, everyone, if you find yourself feeling attracted to me, it's not because I'm good looking, it's because my voice is very deep from a cold. So don't be alarmed by that. So, Kaushal, can we take you back to your childhood? And so what was it like growing up for you? Were there any entrepreneurial influences in your family?
Absolutely. How back do you want me to go? I can go very back as long as I can remember. There's a story. When I was 5 years old, and that's where actually a lot of things which we do at envoPAP resembles then. So coming from India, we utilize a lot of the natural products into its best form. So at my house, when I was 5, the first time I discovered that we can use the outer covering of an exterior of a watermelon for creating pickle afterwards. And that's something which is very, that goes back to childhood, and that goes back to a lot of the things we do at envoPAP by using waste into making finished products. So going back to childhood, of course, it has been a very entrepreneurial journey long ago, because I come from a family which has been very entrepreneurial. My family is into multiple businesses, very fortunate to have been brought up into atmosphere where business is discussed on lunch tables and dinner tables, because it was also a joint family business. We were, I was very lucky and fortunate to be upskilled in a lot of segments and skill sets which were required for running a business by my uncles, by my aunts, because everybody was involved in the family business. The international tax was looked after my aunt in the family business, to the production or HR was looked after by many multiple family members. So a lot of the conversations happened on the dinner and lunch table, and that's where I got a lot of learnings. Any new business ideas which were discussed there. The strength, we talk about SWOT analysis. SWOT analysis used to happen on dining tables with a plate and a tissue paper, and that's how my fathers and my uncles have decided on a lot of business plans. And that was something which was key to learning at a very younger age in my childhood growing up years. And I'm very fortunate and grateful for such kind of support.
Amazing. Did you, in that kind of environment, did you then start to see yourself as an entrepreneur from an early age? Can you remember the first time maybe you thought of yourself as an entrepreneur, as someone who wants to go into business? Did that happen? You know, were you the kid in school selling biscuits for a markup, or what was the first kind of experience and awakening of that entrepreneurial self?
Mm. So going back, I think I was 9 or 10 years old, and I started a library. So we used to, in India, we lived in this, community block of, 5, 10 buildings and multiple houses. So the market was there because there were so many houses, so many flats and so many tenants. And I had a lot of books. My father had a lot of books. I borrowed from my sister, my cousins, my friends, whoever I could. And with another friend over there in the society, we started a library. And the point of the library was that people come there, sit down, uh, read, and then they can take a book. And it's more of a social club exchange for people to discuss ideas about books and stuff. And then we make money by 10 rupees, 10 INR rupees. That was our subscription price for per month. And that's where we made money, we made profits, and we also we made sure that the books are still there. But that was my first entrepreneurial adventure. But coming back to how the mindset started was going back to my grandfather. So my grandfather has started multiple businesses in his lifetime. And he said one thing always: if you start something and if you have the right vision and if you can dream big and do it right, go for it. Don't look back. Just make sure you complete your dream. And that's where I was like, if I can have a dream and I'm trying to solve a problem, I just want to go 100% on it. Don't look back. Don't look at anything else.
Amazing. At 9 years old, that's quite phenomenal, really, isn't it? It's that's, I guess, your first social enterprise too, right? I mean, that was a really social enterprise, giving people access to books, charging them a nominal fee. That's brilliant. So when
I really wish I can be in touch with the co-founder again, but I know he's in the US.
He is, okay. So this was when you were growing up, and you grew up in
I grew up in Pune, which is about 2 hours away from Bombay, which is on the west coast of India.
Okay. So just to fast forward a bit, I guess, well, not fast forward too much, but when you entered school, as someone who was, had all these entrepreneurial ideas, these influences in your family and in your life, did you find school to be a bit of a distraction, or did you find it as, did you enjoy school? Was school something that you enjoyed, or were you always just thinking, when can I start my first business?
School was actually fun. So I loved the school because it was fun. It was a good way to make a lot of new friends, learn a lot of things as well. But more importantly, what I'm really grateful for is the kind of school I went into and the kind of atmosphere which was built around us. Very fortunate to have 10 best friends who are all from school, and 90% of them are entrepreneurs. So there's something which tells about where I came from, something which tells about the kind of friends I made, and something which tells about the school we all went to. It can't go wrong. 10 people of the best friends I have, 9 of them are entrepreneurs, and everyone's doing some amazing work. One of them is creating my shoes, to someone is a director of a movie which just got picked up by Hotstar, to someone has 3 restaurant delivery chains. So it is very going back to a lot of the school, because we were taught to solve problems, but at the same time look at solutions where we can make money.
Wow. Can you tell us the name of the school, Kaushal?
Sorry?
Can you tell us the name of the school?
Symbiosis School. Symbiosis School. It's in educational institute.
Rob and I might be moving today. Amazing. We might be moving to Pune sometime soon and putting our kids into school.
Absolutely. And
so when it came to university,
on the school part, there's one thing just reminded.
Sorry.
Yeah, just on the school part, one thing which just reminded me. I think it was my father who really put me into this, because after I remember 9th standard, I finished my school. We have exams in March, which are the final exams, and then we have a 3-month nice summer holiday. So that's the time when my dad made it compulsory for me to sit in office 4 hours just until lunchtime, 10 to 2 p.m. 4 hours. I have to sit in office in the summer. It doesn't make sense. Whatever I want to do, I can do that. I can order food from outside, I can watch TV or do anything, but that 4 hours have to be spent in office. Of course, the first 2 weeks was I was reading, I was online, doing a lot of the other stuff, but then you get intrigued because there's a full organization which is doing a lot of things. And then that's where the curiosity came in. I started sitting 1 week in the sales team, understanding how do they sell. Then it was on the machine floor, sitting on the floor and understanding how things work here. How is material delivered? How are the things manufactured? How do we make sure that the least amount of wastage is being kept? And every employee's attitude and mindset was very new and curious. I was just 14 years old, going to a factory, sitting on the forklift and going all the way up. That was fun. But then understanding the technology of how the forklift can take me up, 10 meters or 5 meters, that was where the curiosity came in. And that was all thanks to my father. If he wouldn't have put the practice of being in office early on, learning things early on, I wouldn't have really been this entrepreneurial mindset from a very early age.
Wow, that's incredible. So you were literally immersed in an entrepreneurial business environment. So just for who aren't from standard means you were about 14. Is that right?
Sorry, Pathik, I had some disturbances listening to you. Can you repeat the question, please?
So I was just saying, for all the non-Indian people here, 9 standard means you were 14, 15.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah, 14, exactly 14. Just finished 14 and getting into 15.
So you had this incredible school environment, you had this incredible family environment, all of which were helping to stimulate this entrepreneurial self and this identity. When it came to university, how did you choose which university to go to?
So I studied in the US for a semester abroad in 2013, went to Cambridge, did some courses, loved everything of it. But there's one thing which attracted me I was like, this is not my place. I feel I need to explore more. And that's where England was put on the map. And being a football fan, since childhood, I knew the cities. That's the best thing we all Indians know about football and watching EPL is we know all the cities where they are. So I started from there. But then at the same time, when I was studying in the US, I read an article which was written by Dr. Pawan Tambora. And he was also appointed the same year in 2014 to lead as a course director for global enterprise and entrepreneurship. I don't think the school continues that course anymore, but that was the course which I did, MSc in global enterprise and entrepreneurship in 2014-15. And he was being directed as the director. And I'd done some articles because he was before that working at a university in Germany. And I'd referenced some articles. So I was like, this articles are sounding very interesting. Seems like the school has a new scope, global entrepreneurship, something which earlier on, I had planned to take my family's business on a international scale. And I thought this course might be the best way to learn a lot about entrepreneurship on a global scale and also running a global enterprise. And that's how I had chosen Southampton University. I'd also applied to another university, which I got into, but I always wanted to get into Southampton. And all thanks to Dr. Pawan Tambora.
Incredible. That's fantastic. Thank you, Kaushal. I'll now hand over to Rob.
So, Kaushal, I'm very pleased to hear that you're a football fan. And I'm hoping that to some extent, Southampton Football Club was part of that decision to choose the city rather than the university, rather than the other offer you had. Is there some truth in that?
Sorry?
Is there some truth in that? You chose Southampton because of the football club as much as anything?
Absolutely, definitely.
Okay, that makes me feel good as a Southampton fan. So you were arriving into Southampton and you were going to study on which degree program? What were you set on at that point?
So I still remember the day, 17th of September, 2014. Came in from India and I came in to do masters in global enterprise and entrepreneurship at the business school.
And what was it about that program that had particularly attracted you?
There's a module which was entrepreneurship, and there were multiple modules. So it was focused on accounting, where we had to create a proper business plan with financial accounting in focus. Then we had a social entrepreneurship, so making sure that the social aspect of the business is considered. And then we had a marketing entrepreneurship program, which was coached by Alan. I still remember the person's name, who runs a online plant shop. he was there on the marketing end. And there was one more topic, which was just a business model, but it was a group project. So one course taught me about making sure that the business model is financially secure, making sure that we have a social angle, making sure that we can market it right, and then doing a business model together with 4 people. We did it as me and 4 of my friends. We did it on a project called SoCups. Yeah, I still remember that, which was a great project and a great group project as well.
So you'd arrived in September, and obviously you'd had the experience of studying in the US and a great schooling in India. What were your first impressions of being in the UK and particularly in the University of Southampton?
I think the first thing which I really loved was my independence. So when I came to Southampton, I was like, yeah, this life is good. You have a lot of great sporting activities, a lot of great facilities as well. I hadn't seen the classrooms or the kind of education style, but I was very much impressed with the campus which was on offer. Then, as when the orientation program started off, I think those gave me a great light on meeting new friends, meeting new people. And at the same time, in that time, they had this thing called societies, where they had a group showcase of all the societies on one day. I think that was the key game changer, to get interactive with a lot of other curriculum related activities. And the societies was the key highlight of University of Southampton's. And any further student who wants to, I will always recommend get involved in the societies, because that's what gave me a higher and a bigger perspective while at uni.
So I'm aware that at this point in time, envoPAP was percolating. Can you tell us a little bit about how these sort of two things, university and your entrepreneurial vision, your entrepreneurial mindset, kind of clashed and came together?
So before I came to UK, I was already in the print and packaging sector, because my family has been in this sector for a long period of time. And agrofiber has been, very less utilized. I would say it's underutilized, because India alone generates close to about 370 million tons of agrofiber every single year. Our yield rate is 50%. So at any given point, we can generate 50% amount of the waste which is being generated. That can tell us how much waste is there. And that was the biggest problem for me and for the country as well. And fast forward in 2014, when I came here, looking at all the infrastructure which the UK offers, I think that's something very astounding and which has to be considered. The ease of doing business in the UK is much better than any other, most countries in Europe. Language wise, if we see, we have English, which is a widely open language. The product which we were always looking at, which I was very interested to take on further, wanted an international approach. And London showcased the right opportunity, or UK as a right opportunity to raise money, making sure that the business is fundamentally secure. These were the 3 points which were in my head before I came to the UK. So I always had this on my back of my mind. We didn't know what the product was, but I always had it at the back of my mind. I want to go there and start something and take my family business on an internationalized scale. This was something which I'd also discussed with a lot of my professors. If we are to expand, what could we do? So this was there on the back of the mind. And then coming back to the societies, which I mentioned, Fish on Toast, and then Enactus, and multiple other societies, which I got to attend a lot of these workshops. They call some industry professionals. Even during our class, we had some great entrepreneurs come in and talk to about and give us a completely different perspective on how business is currently being conducted, how startups raising money, what are the kind of innovation which is coming out. So that was very different and game changing as a student when you're trying to learn and put models into practice where you're going to get assessed. And then you hear from real life industry leaders who are doing that on a global scale. So that was a very pivotal moment when in the first semester. And that's when I flew back to India in March to pitch my plan to my family.
So there's two things here that I want to sort of unpack and prod a little bit, if you don't mind. If you can, for us to sort of see the future before we sort of go through how you got to that point, can you explain to us kind of what we would call back of a beer mat? So in just a few words, what is envoPAP and what makes it unique? What kind of gap in the market did you establish and find?
Absolutely. So, I'll start with very, very simple understanding. envoPAP creates print and packaging materials. We create these materials using the waste of agriculture. In India, we found four main types of agricultural waste, which is the waste of sugarcane, the waste of wheat, the waste of rice, and sarkanda. These four agricultural waste crops generate close to about millions of tons of agricultural waste. We collect these from farmers, sugar mills, wheat mills, rice mills, and a variety of other farming solutions. We take this waste and convert it into pulp. After the pulp has been pressed and dried, we make it into finished materials. I'm in office, so we are lucky. I can show you literally some few products. This is one of our e-commerce packaging products. Now you can see this looks like a paper, but this is made using agricultural waste and bleached and pulped into it. And this is how we'll all be receiving packages going forward, replacing the poly bags in our fashion e-commerce sector and making sure that we can reuse it and send it back. And if it doesn't, we can compost the package at home. It is industrial compostable. It can biodegrade, so you can just shred it into pieces, put it in the soil and wait for about 12 to 15 weeks. You can put it into the paper and recycling waste bin. It will get recycled and made into new paper. And it is also marine degradable as well. So putting into the ocean, it will not affect any ocean life. That's envoPAP in a gist of what we do and how we do it and what are the benefits for the environment. And in doing so, just a quick one, we did a LCA. LCA is becoming a huge thing. 2 years ago, not many people knew what is an LCA, but LCA is a life cycle analysis. And we compared it with Europe's largest manufacturers. If we're using envoPAP fiber, and if you're using wood fiber made from Scandinavia, Austria, Poland, Germany, Russia, wherever, and we compared it on that, our materials have a 38% lower carbon footprint, which is the most important number, and it has a huge impact.
So spoiler alert, you're now Forbes 30 under 30, 25 employees, and obviously a very sizable turnover. But going back to the time at university, at the end of that first semester, you went home and you pitched to your parents, I guess, envoPAP as an idea. Tell us about that.
I went for Holi. I don't know if a lot of people know, but I went home for Holi. It was March 2015. Went home and I was like, I've got this 5 months of great experience in England. And I feel it's time for our family business to go international. But before that, doing so, I do have this passion project, which is focusing more on the agrofiber sector. We've done work in this regards, but I feel there's a better scope. Europe has the right mindset because Europe is a place where there's a heavy demand for sustainability, but it is driven by a lot of variety of factors. One, consumers are demanding it because a lot of the consumers are driving the decisions for large foreign FMCG companies to make changes to their packaging. Investment is being derived on the basis of ESG principles. And if investors are making decisions on which company to make an investment, if the company is sustainable or not, on that basis, that's a very important aspect. And number three was with carbon tax and many other of these taxes coming, plastic tax, carbon tax, and the policy. Government policy is also very motivating. So these were my three principles, which I went back to my family. I was like, this is what exists. So the opportunity is there. Policies are being drafted in accordance to that. I need 9 months to build this business to something. My grandfather was very clear. He was like, you have a visa from the UK Home Office until next year, January. We give you the same time. Whatever you need, you have all the resources. See if you can make this into a business model. If you don't, you come back and take up business international. So that was the deal. And that's how it started off. And we incorporated the company while I was in India.
Just going back again, that's very interesting, but going back again, sorry to flip-flop around in your story, but at that point where you had the confidence to bring this up with your parents, there must have been something, or was there something that had happened at university or in one of the clubs or that gave you the seed of this idea? Like, when was that spark moment? How did it come to fruition? Can you recall?
Have you guys heard of this company called What Three Words?
Yeah.
Everybody knows about it today. Every single person knows about it today. But in 2014, we had one of the directors and investors in our class, in entrepreneurship class. And that class, they were talking about what is their vision plan and what is their final vision and mission of the business. They were talking 10 years ahead in 2014. In 2020, they got funded on Crowdcube with the biggest funding ever. That was a very important session, and I still have the notes from that session, which I made because I was thinking from What Three Words vision, what they had, but I was putting my ideas into my own vision, learning from here and putting my ideas into my vision. So that was a very pivotal moment in during university, which really sparked that yes, this can happen and this can be done if we look at 10 years down the line and not look at a smaller target.
Okay, super. So then you obviously flew back, and just before I pass it back to Pathik, you flew back to the UK. You had a little bit of extra time in your course. What happened then? What was the next part?
All thanks to Laura Costanzo. If it was all thanks to Laura Costanzo, if it wasn't for her to allow me to do my dissertation on my business model, I wouldn't have got the time to put that into product research, market research, start putting in the right steps and finding customers during that time and build the product itself. So the whole journey during the summer, I moved from Southampton to London. That was the first thing I did while we incorporated the company, and a lot of the registration processes were going on. It was very difficult to keep traveling from Southampton to London. So the first thing that I did was moved from Southampton to London, got here, started meeting with a lot of industry consultants, advisors, started speaking to a lot of the banks to ask, look at funding options. That time investment wasn't even on our forte at all. It was more about getting product out, getting the market ready, market right, and approaching customers. We had these three objectives, and the dissertation was focused around this, looking also at the problems currently in the market itself. So that was a very important study. What are the current problems? And if doing this business, what are we really going to solve? Because there are two types of things we can do. We can either sell a product and say, you know what, our product is the best, it's the greenest, it's the world's best product. And then the other was, our product is green, this is the solution, this is how they can add value to your business. It's a great way for your customers, for you to communicate your customer's journey. So this is where I wanted to focus on, and to get to this, the other side, where building a solution for a client, that was more important, pivotal moment during the dissertation time, which all thanks to Laura Costanzo, and I did secure a distinction on my dissertation.
Oh, congratulations on that. And I have no doubt for anybody in the audience who doesn't know who Laura is also now our head of school and leads, our strategy as a school. So I expect you'll be extremely happy to hear your kind words. I'll pass back to Pathik now.
So, Kaushal, you've been through this brilliant journey so far. You've got all this kind of impetus behind you. You've done this research into envoPAP. You've moved to London, but it's not plain sailing, right? You don't go from that point to being Forbes 30 under 30 just like that. So can you tell us about some of the dark days at the early days in that first 9 months when you had to make it work, because that was the deadline you were given by your family? What were some of them really difficult times then?
No, absolutely. The first thing which reminds me, the first experience, the first transaction we had, we got an order of about $400,000. That was my first bagged order. Global deal, spread across 3 continents. Great customer. Everything was amazing. We did a 25 container deal. 22 containers were paid for. The 3 containers, we never received the money. We lost about $60,000 in the first transaction itself. For the money, I remember I had to travel to Dubai, I had to travel to Turkey, the Netherlands, all across to get, ask for your own funds. And that was a very important, extremely important transaction, because it's taught us service levels, what kind of service, product levels, Understanding customers' financial journeys, so important. If you don't know your customers' finances, are you really going to be making money on that? If that customer is really buying your product, or are they really buying into the price of the product? That's a very important learning during that transaction, which was learned. Thanks to my father, otherwise it was not possible for us to sustain where he did help us, support the company during the worst, difficultest times. And in that transaction, it was one thing which was very clear. We only want to work, I only want to work with companies who believe in the product's vision, who believe that green products is the future, and it's not something where cost can play a price. It can be premium, it cannot be premium, it's fine. But if it is made in a sustainable, making sure that it doesn't harm the planet, we only want to work with such kind of companies. That was the first learning, first transaction. Great deal, great business, great excitement, but then the end didn't end very well.
Wow. So that feels like a full start almost, that you had, it looked like this was going to be the floodgates are open, businesses coming in. So in the first few months then, in terms of cash flow, in terms of revenue generation, was that become an issue, and how did that impact on you?
So in July, I remember my dad had come here. We went to Scotland and he gave me $5,000. He was like, "This is for the business. Keep this for the business." And he thought that $5,000 would be very much enough for the next 6-7 months to go for, not knowing London standards and London living and the business costs of UK. So money was always tight, but I had made sure and had made it a point that I don't ask my family again and again, because they've done enough. They've sponsored my education. They've made sure that I live in a very good accommodation, made sure that my whole university life was well taken care of. And they've also given me an initial startup capital for the business. So very fortunate, grateful to have been in this situation, which wherever I was given the first start. Then, of course, life strikes, and as a business, you have ideas, you have passion, and you have ambition, and you want to get all of that with a limited amount of money, which is not possible. So I had to find a lot of different ways to keep making money. So I think 2015, my way of making money was Airbnb. I used to rent my house on Airbnb to people across the shared room, full apartment, however they wanted. Whatever I could get, I used to give my house, and I used to stay at a friend's house or somewhere here and there. And I used to make about £1,000 to £1,100 a month just by Airbnb, and that's how I paid my rent and any other expenses which came in 2015.
Wow. And how did that? And we know that there's a bit of a story here. So what did that end up well for you, or was there did that take a slightly darker turn?
I made through the phase, so I was happy about that. And while it was I think I overdid it. And whenever you overdo things, it doesn't end well. And that was the story from that. So for everyone, I just got a notice from my landlord that I cannot sublet my house anymore. So I had to stop that revenue stream, my secondary, not passionate, but parallel revenue stream.
Wow. I mean, that just shows so many things, right? Just to unpack that, the determination to make this work, that you would do anything to keep the business running, right? I mean, you knew there was a risk there, obviously, that the landlord would find out that this might blow up in your face, but you kept doing it. How did you feel at that point when you got the notice from your landlord? What was going through your mind about the business, about whether this was the right thing to do? Did that plant any seeds of doubt in your mind and make you think, yeah, maybe now's the time to go home. Now's the time I could go back to the family business. Everything's going to be really nice for me back in Pune. But so did that ever come across? Did it even occur to you, or were you just single-mindedly focused? No matter what, I'm going to keep going?
So initially, when I got a letter and I had to stop doing, of course, it stops the revenue, but I wasn't much affected because I was very committed to my purpose, and my purpose is to make sure we create innovative packaging products which don't harm the planet and create wealth for shareholders who believe in it. And that's my main purpose, to create wealth for people who believe green is the future, make sure that we create products which don't harm the planet, and at the same time use the waste which is causing an environmental crisis in India. That's my purpose, and I don't deviate from my purpose. Anything happens in my life, that's what my main purpose is, and I stick to that no matter what.
Amazing. Just perfect singular focus there, Kaushal. That for every aspiring entrepreneur is something to take home, isn't it? That whatever happens, your focus is right there. Your mission is so clear. Was there then a turning point for you in the business? Was there a point in which you realized, was there one deal, was there one moment, or maybe a sequence of deals that then made you realize, you know what, okay, envoPAP, it's going to fly. This is going to be a business that's going to succeed, that's going to do everything you want, delivering returns for your shareholders, doing good for the planet. Could you pinpoint a moment in that journey?
Sure. I think it was the year 2018 when it was the beginning of when we really launched envoPAP research. And envoPAP research was started in May 2018. It was 4th year anniversary. And the reason we started that was to collaborate with FMCG companies, brands across the world, universities, innovators, product innovators, and individual product innovation companies, and understand how we can take what we have learned in our past with our material, what we have created. How can we take our material and create multiple other products? So where plastic, right now we are in the plastics industry, but that only happened because we started envoPAP research in 2018. And that was we also worked with a lot of universities. One of the main universities we worked was University of Bath and their CSCT, which is the Chemical and Sustainable Technologies Center, where we understood we can use our base materials, add coatings to it to make it waterproof and oil and grease resistance proof. And if you give me 1 minute, I can actually show you the product innovation right in front here, what we are creating with replacement to single-use plastic.
Sure,
that was a very pivotal moment during 2018 when the strategy of the business changed. So in the last 3 years, we achieved printing materials was sold in about 20 countries that time. In the first years, we had got enough traction. Customers knew that there is value in buying this product. It is making impact. We've got the certifications. Now, what's the next journey? And this was where the next strategy was to get into the packaging sector, get into the barriers product sector where we can pack specialty food applications. To give you an example, packaging of chocolates, protein bars, nuts, seeds, any kind of semi-liquid products. It can also be direct food contact products as well.
Wow. Amazing. Thank you so much, Kaushal. I'll hand back to Rob.
Thank you. So, Kaushal, one of the great pleasures that I have, and I know Pathik has in the job that we do, is that we get to meet people like yourself on a fairly regular basis. And there's always this characteristic that we find in those people. And that is that almost ruthless ambition and clear vision of where you're going in the future. May I be so bold as to ask, what is it that drives you now every single day, and how do you demonstrate that to yourself? What is it?
So I have this one thing which is right next to my bed, and I read it every single day. So it says, Kaushal, embrace the potential to do whatever you can dream. And that's one thing which I start my day with. That's something which is committed to doing everything in whatever. It can be my purpose of envoPAP, it can be the purpose of Invest, which is an investment firm, or any kind of social projects or any investment project, anything at all. This is something which keeps my confidence going every single day. And I practice a lot of meditation.
And so if we fast forward 5 years and there's an ideal scenario for envoPAP, what is that scenario?
We want to be a global business where we have multiple centers across the world, collecting agrofiber from everywhere in the world, converting that into the materials we make today, which are made from India, and showcase innovation using agro-technology.
Yeah. Any ambitions to be floated?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It has always been it has always been a team and my dream to see us being listed on one of the stock exchanges where we can involve and invite more friends and family and more people, external investors, to join our Envo family. I know Patik here is a part of our Envo family through his CrowdKey brand. So we want more and more people to join us in our journey, be a part of this project, which is a global platform to create new revolution in agrofiber technology, and then show the world that yes, it can make money, it can make green products, and it does create impact.
That's wonderful. I wanted to sort of get to that point where we get an idea of what to look for. So everybody in the call now will be looking at you, and in 5 years' time, has he achieved his ambition? Because so far, the race from leaving university to where you are now is frankly phenomenal, what you've achieved in that time. And if I was a betting man, I would definitely bet that you would achieve your goals and your ambitions. Kaushal,
Thank you.
on that, you're welcome. On that note, we also have the benefit of working with students, many of whom have similar mindsets to yourself. What would be your key advice to those students or anybody in general about their future as an entrepreneur?
I always say it, and it's something which has stuck. If it was not, I got the idea during university. If I hadn't started envoPAP during university, envoPAP would have never existed. And it was the early starts, taking the right decision on the right time, taking the right people, working with the right mindset. So having an early start, if you have an idea, make sure you do the right research, do the right market analysis, and just dive into it with all your passion and all you've got, because that's what matters. The rest is your destiny, and it will happen as things flow.
Brilliant. That's really clear advice, and I think very useful for not just students, for all of us actually. Thank you, Kaushal. Very enlightening. And what I'd like to do now is use the final time we've got to take questions from our audience. And so I would really appreciate if our audience gives us those questions, those suggestions, those comments that might be useful for us to cover here. The first, I think, is a comment here, a question from Nicholas. And it's quite a personal question, but I think one that's certainly important to know. He says, Kaushal, do you think you would have made it without both the financial and other support from your skilled and ambitious family members? And there's a second part here is, when did you truly realize that envoPAP was going to be the success it's become?
Number one, no, without my family support, it wouldn't have been possible. Second thing, my family is in this sector for 55 years. So getting contacts from the sector or learnings was very fortunately convenient for me and in the position I was in. Answering number two, can you repeat the question, Rob?
Yeah, I absolutely can. No problem. He says, when did you truly realize that envoPAP was going to be the success that it's become?
2019, February, when we raised investment from Founders Factory. Founders Factory is one of the largest VCs, venture capitalist accelerators and incubators in Europe. And we raised money under the Beauty Accelerator, meaning L'Oreal is a shareholder of envoPAP via Founders Factory.
There's actually a funny story about L'Oreal, though, isn't there?
Yeah. Yeah. So going back in 2015, in Laura Costanzo's module, we were tasked to do a group presentation, and we were 5 of us. I still have a photo from then. I think I showed it to you guys. Yeah. We were 5 of us, and we selected L'Oreal as a company that, okay, this is the company we're going to make a group presentation on. And we did a great amount of research, fast track, from February 2015 to February 2019, we had an opportunity to engage with all the global MDs of every country from L'Oreal and their global chairmen, and sit down and see how envoPAP can help solve and create more sustainable solutions within L'Oreal's group. And now I'm very proud that we have a 6-country focus coming up later this year or early next year.
Yeah, there's a great photograph, by the way, that you showed us. So Rusli,
Also on our Instagram, if anybody wants to see, it's on envoPAP's Instagram. You'll see one of the from last year, February.
Brilliant. So Rusli Tantan has actually floated an idea for you, so for you to consider and have a short presentation. I suppose that's one of the benefits of something of this nature as well. I want to fast forward here to one of our other inspiring students, actually, Chris Lenthal. He says here, thanks for sharing your story. Just wondering, what did the early stages of team formation look like for you? And how much did you go it alone in the first steps?
I was alone from 2015 until end of 2016 for the first majority. Like I finished my school in December 2015. So for 1 year, I was all alone. It took me until December 2018 to have one of the employees, like the oldest employee in the company is from December 2018. And before that, we've had a lot of team members join in. It's a trial and error process. With team, you cannot get it right in the first instance. It is like, it's like a honeymoon period. You're trying to understand, and then if it works and both the vision matches, then you keep moving ahead. So, and team was very important. I'm very fortunate today that we've got a great team, very passionate, very committed, a mix of young and experienced, which is very fortunate to have. Going back early on, it wasn't on that scale. We had to trial with a lot of people who could really understand the product. Some people didn't understand the vision, but some people understood the sales of it. So they could sell, but they couldn't sell to the right client or the client atmosphere. So it's a trial and error process with the team, always.
Yeah. So Laura Smith has put a very kind comment, by the way. She said, thank you for sharing your experience and insight. It's been very enlightening. I agree. You've spoken a lot about having a singular focus on your business, but do you think it's possible to maintain a successful enterprise and a career at the same time?
Singular focus in regards to me as an individual.
Sure, I guess.
So my main purpose is envoPAP, and that will always be the main purpose, but that doesn't mean that I don't put my time. So I'm also a co-founder of envoPAP, which is a boutique investment firm. What we are doing is we're looking at Pune, Bombay, where we come from, more prominently Maharashtra, taking all our friends, family, investment, and looking at curating deals across Europe and India as well on startups, variety of startups where we feel that, yes, I want to be involved and I'm investing, so I want to get my friends involved. And that's what we've created envoPAP for. And then at the same time, while you're in the industry, you get involved with a lot of other startups. And I've started investing myself in angel investing, very small amounts, but it's an initial start and starting to be on board member at one of the startups, which I've invested earlier this year. And it gives a lot of things to do. So entrepreneurship is, I think, a life school than anything, because you get to meet one of the best people in the world. You get to exchange ideas, discuss a lot of great things, attend events, and so I think it has been a great experience being an entrepreneur.
So, George Holcroft has put a question here, which I think is, I think it's going to resonate with everyone who's taken your path, probably including yourself. He says, hi Kaushal, how would you recommend someone who wants to start a business but has not yet got an idea actually starts? Where do you get your inspiration from, and where would you recommend that others look for inspiration?
I'll tell you, one of the business segments, which was the bespoke where we are, the inspiration was from a supermarket. I entered a supermarket and I saw tills and tills of products being packed in plastic. And I was like, I want to change that. This is bullshit. This is not acceptable at all. In 2021, I'm going to a supermarket in United Kingdom, which talks a lot about 10 action plan and sustainability. But we still have a supermarket which sells products which are packed in plastic. And on that plastic packaging, they talk about that this is widely recycled. And if you look into detail and understand that plastic is not really widely recycled, or the UK current recycling infrastructure doesn't exist to recycle this plastic. So that was where I found my inspiration. I was like, if in my lifetime I can make a change and make sure that one till is packed with envoPAP or better, greener products, I want to do it. So it doesn't matter even if you don't have an idea. Inspiration and ideas come the more you start engaging, going out, talking to people. But it's all more about having a mindset and having a clear plan. I always believe I want to be in an industry segment where there's a need. There are two kinds of businesses, I believe. There's a need and there's a desire. Businesses which are need businesses, I want to be in that segment. I don't want to be in the business of desire. Desires, I don't want to name it, but I don't want to be in that segment. So that was one thing which I was very clear about from day one.
So can I ask you then, Kaushal, as a kind of follow-up to that, are you the type of person, if you were a reflexive here and evaluating yourself, are you the type of person who just has idea after idea after idea, or are you the type of person who sees and has an, let's say for argument's sake, an open mind to new ideas and then capitalizes on those? I mean, if there are sort of different ends of the spectrum, where would you be?
I'll answer this question into two phases. Kaushal of today, a lot of ideas come in, but I have made myself a habit of writing down those ideas and keep going back to them and see if more branches can come out. Every idea, I create a tree. And if I'm going back to that idea and if I'm creating more branches, it means for me that this idea is substantial, it has substance, and I can grow into more deeper. Before, I used to have a lot of ideas coming in, but I never put in the right amount of depth of research or the analysis, which was very important to validate that idea. So ideas are good to be coming. Only thing I would really recommend is making notes of them and keep expanding. Do you think there's something bigger than this? Because idea can be picking up this product and keeping it here and packaging it properly. But do you think you can do more with it? Can you add interactive, anything? But
yeah,
writing down ideas was an important thing. Now I do that. Fine.
Super. Yeah, super. Pathik, did you want to add something?
Yeah, of course. Just to pick up on that question. So when you have these ideas and you're noting them all down, do you have a kind of a filter or a lens that you apply to it to say, okay, this ticks all the criteria I'm looking for? Like you're saying, is this a problem which is about, is there a need which is being served here? Is this a problem that I want to solve? Does that apply? Do you have the idea and then you put it against this filter, against this lens, and you say, yep, that meets all the criteria, or no, that isn't meeting the criteria? Do you have that?
No. So I look at ideas into three sections. Short term, medium term, long term. Every idea can be implemented some or the other time. We as a business have been evolving and growing. Some ideas we can implement today, some ideas we can implement in 10 years. So very important to classify them into, is that idea you can complete in the next 6 months? Then it's a short term. If you start working today and you'll take 2 years to really come to the finish of it, and then another 2 years to measure the impact of it. So I would put that into medium term. And then something which is, it's going to take you 5 years to build and get to a success, and then another 2-3 years to analyze after the market. So that's a long term. So I classify every idea into these segments, and that gives me a good base to start building out on it.
So I want to take one more question because we're really rapidly running out of time.
Wow,
yeah, Hind said something that I think is fundamentally critical. Obviously, you're engaging with the sort of a product that's engineered. How do you find people with the right background to support the technology that you have within your business or that you need within your business?
I'll answer the question in another way. So how we found people in the business to, the technical help. We looked at who are we targeting? Who are our customers? We are targeting the plastic sector. We are targeting companies who are currently manufacturing products using plastic machineries. What is the kind of language do they understand? So we started from there, and now our VP for materials is someone who has sold plastics for 10 years. And our VP for bespoke is someone who has worked in the plastic recycling sector, is a plastics engineer, and someone who can help in being the astounding sound. Then on our material side, we've got technical help from consultants. We've got one of the best material technologists from India who have worked in the agrofiber sector and help in deriving. We have a product owner who has done environmental engineering and product engineering from Imperial College London. So we've got a great team on all the way from the material front to the product front, and at the same time on customer facing product technical roles where they understand the language of the customer.
Brilliant. So we've now managed to fill the whole hour, and it sort of, for me, just went like this. Obviously, both Pathik and myself have a debt of gratitude to you, Kaushal, for sharing your story, your inspiring ideas, giving us an insight into the sort of more hidden function of what you do and how you have become the man you are today. Now, this is a little bit of a let's say, side story here, or side note. Kaushal is heavily involved with what we do in the business school now, and works with us, on a number of different initiatives and in different ways. And one of the great benefits of having a connection with our alumni and our alumni network is that we want to, in the future, be able to give back to our alumni and continue the dialogue, the discussion, and the innovative way of thinking that is so important to an educational establishment. So to this end, just like Kaushal is doing with envoPAP, I would invite anybody who is an alum on this call, if they ever need or have the desire to work with our students, giving talks, or they have a project in their work that they would like assistance with from the university and our students, that would give our students practical experience, we would be delighted to hear from you. It's always our mission to be able to work with our alumni network, and it works perfectly when we have the opportunity to put you with our talented students, as you were whenever you were at Southampton. So to that end, please do feel free to reach out. Kaushal, once again, you have been an absolute star, and I thank you, sir, for your time and willingness to participate today. Pathik, any final words from you?
No, nothing that you've captured everything, Rob. I just want to say you can follow envoPAP on all the social media platforms. I really recommend EnvoCast, which is envoPAP's new podcast, which has been launched this year. Is that right, Kaushal? It's recent. So you can find that wherever you find your podcasts. But I just want to say to Kaushal, thank you so much for the time. I mean, one of the things you'll notice is Kaushal is so generous with his time. He gives so much to the university. So thank you so much for giving up your precious time.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Firstly, thank you so much, Rob, and thank you so much, Pathik, for inviting. Miriam, thank you for arranging, and it has been an absolute pleasure. And I'll be very honest and on point. The reason I'm so grateful to University of Southampton is envoPAP only exists today if it was not for Southampton University to sponsor my Tier 1 graduate entrepreneurship. So for people who don't know what is Tier 1 graduate entrepreneurship, please research, talk to your professors and whoever it is. And I was the first student in University of Southampton to be receiving this. So very glad, very fortunate and grateful. Thanks to University of Southampton.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you again, Kaushal. Thank you also to our audience for tuning in. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and see you at the next Inspiring Journeys talk. Bye-bye now.
Absolutely. Thank you.